All right, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our session. I'm happy to see so many faces. We are not sure how many people were looking for jobs in Bitcoin, but oh, what's that? But, all right. That's just to get ready. So if you are not familiar with Menti, it's an online survey thingy. We'll use that only twice, so don't worry too much about it. All right, let's get started. Welcome to Passion to Paycheck, a session we put together for people who are interested into getting a job in the Bitcoin space. My name is Markus. I'm here together with Stefan. We are two of the founders of the Swiss Bitcoin Institute, which is a think tank, research, education for executives and leaders in business, government, and civil society. I will show a few slides at the end. It's not so important. You can also visit our website, bitcoininstitute.ch. We are very young, like only three months live, but you already can get a few intelligent briefs online at the website for free at the moment. It's very simple. We're asking three questions: why, what, and how. Why you want to do this transition if you are in a so-called fiat job still, what is needed to do it, and how to go about it, or how to start moving. So that's actually already the first question I'm asking you, because I cannot answer this question for you, right? It's your answer, it's your idea or your motivation. And that's already the first question. You can use the Menti. So I invite you to take your phones and go to, now let's see where that works. Go to this place. Okay, first thumbs are appearing. 24 people, 5 are live. We have probably more than double the amount. Yes. Very nice, very nice. I'll give it a few more seconds. It's not a difficult question anyhow. Well, it may or may not be a difficult question why you want to go into that space. So if everybody has the QR code scanned, then let me move to the actual question. You guys ready? 55 people. Somebody's still holding the phone. Okay, super. So let's move. Ah, very nice, very nice. Passion, freedom. Yeah, let's have that move a little bit. Half of the people have given their keywords of why you want to do a job in Bitcoin. Sick of Web 2. All right. Serial change, future independence. You can also change your words if you want to support something you see here, or it's the same and a different word. It's very cool. We will come back to that question of passion, because imagine I would do that at some other place, right? At some other event where people just like do their work, and you would ask them, why do you want to work in this space, or why do you work in this space? I don't think that passion and freedom would be very high in the list. Nobody says there's get rich, but it's quite small. Ikigai, very cool. Philosophical contributions. Need money, that's a good one. Yes, need money. Real money. I need real money. All right, I think we have some stabilization here. Let me make a screenshot first of this. All right. So that question is really much more important in this space. Not only for you. We still have, oh no, we don't have free seats. Any free seats left? There are a few in the back if you want to sit down, so you don't have to stand at the door. So that question usually everybody asks you when they give you career advice. Why do you want to do this? What's your passion, etc., etc. Companies are not so much asking this question, except in this space. If you go and visit the trade fair where all the sponsors are and talk to them, the founders, let's say, they also share this passion you just mentioned in your answer, because they actually want to change the world for the better using actual money, new money, better money than what we have. So what's needed for you to implement this, to make this move to a place where you actually can follow your passion? I will talk about two main things. One is orientation, and the other one is skills. So let's start with orientation. The big question is, where are all these great Bitcoin jobs? And what are they, and where can you find them? Well, online it's not so difficult. Well, if you start searching for Bitcoin jobs or Bitcoiner jobs, you will get a few hits. That wasn't the case only 2 years ago. I think Bitcoiner jobs, which I think was the original, original these days, maybe not 10 years ago, the original Bitcoin job board that started, I think, 3 years ago. And then you have Bitvocation, which is by Anja Schütz, a Telegram job feed, and also more if you visit the website, and Bitcoin Jobs, which is the smallest of the three. What are they looking for? This is just a snapshot, right? So don't take it as it's not statistical information. It's just a snapshot of two of these places, and you can see they're looking for engineers, so people with technical background, but not only, and maybe not even most of them. So business operations, as you can see here, is even before engineering, and then it's already marketing, finance, product. So if you're not a technical person, do not worry too much, right? This industry is emerging. It's only, yes, you hear that Bitcoin exists for like 16 years, but this entire industry is very, very young. Most of the companies today have probably not existed like only 3 years ago. There are not too many 10-year-old Bitcoin companies. So I wouldn't, and new ones are popping up like regular, and it's only increasing. The difficulty is it's not an established industry, right? There are no reports about the industry. We don't have a list of the companies. We are building one currently for our survey, but this is all work in progress. You are very early, so but it's great to start today. So how many open positions? This is just a September-October snapshot from these three websites. You can see the numbers on the left. And it's probably, if you add them up, it's probably less because I didn't check for overlaps. That would have been quite a bit of work. But to get an impression, it's maybe 300-400 jobs, which you could say, okay, in the entire world, that's not a lot. Well, that's what it is. We are where we are currently, and this industry is very small. Sure, in the US, it's a bigger country, more companies, more opportunities, and this is global, right? So the jobs here are not restricted to a certain country or so. But nevertheless, I gave you a screenshot of Bitvocation's report of September, and you see 51 year-over-year percent growth in job ads. So it's very dynamic. It's very small, but it's also very dynamic. So if you think you would like to move there, but you're not ready yet for whatever reasons, we can come to that later, don't worry, that space is not going away, and it's definitely not going to shrink. So what places to work exist? I made like 3 buckets. Let's start with the blue one, I'd say. It should be probably much smaller even than what I put here. Businesses using Bitcoin. So these are all the companies or financial institutions you know today. And of course, hardly any of them make any use of Bitcoin. Banks are just starting to offer Bitcoin as something you can buy and trade with them or hold. But even this hyper-banked country, Switzerland, doesn't have like all the banks offering this yet. Retailers accepting Bitcoin, you are in one of the cities where this is happening at a large scale, I would say. There are, of course, also places where you can buy in Switzerland with Bitcoin, online as well as offline. But it's just starting. Some gaming companies use Bitcoin or start using Satoshis as in-game currency. And then, of course, charities who also think about accepting donations in Bitcoin. So it's very early. It's very early. All the large industries, it's not yet. That's why we started the Swiss Bitcoin Institute, because we think that the decision makers in all these companies, across all industries, basically, as of today, the absolute majority of them just don't know enough about Bitcoin. What they hear in mainstream news is mainly about the price when it's going up or when it's falling in big steps. Then they read a little bit about it. When somebody says it uses a lot of energy, they may have heard this. And maybe sometimes something about illicit use of Bitcoin for whatever. But that's what they know. That's literally all they know. So who is starting? The financial industry is starting, because obviously it seems to not go away and it seems to increase in price over time. And even if they don't understand exactly why that is happening, they are interested. But outside finance, it's still difficult. But don't worry, we have other areas. Another area at the bottom left is also not very big. It's what we call supporting Bitcoin businesses. That means they are not directly handling Bitcoin. They do something around it, but not directly handle the Bitcoin. So incubators, accelerators, consulting companies, research and policy, and related. And the circle I would like to show a little bit more about is what we call core Bitcoin businesses. So this is this emerging Bitcoin industry, where we also do not have a systematic overview yet. And what I'm showing you next is a structure we are developing, actually. It's from us for the survey we want to do. Yeah, so I'm just showing this to you. So core Bitcoin businesses, you can structure them according to these four. There will be more on the next page, but these four. So the mining ecosystem, which is not very big in Switzerland yet. Let's see whether that will change when we manage to explain to more energy providers in Switzerland how Bitcoin mining actually works and what you can do with it in terms of grid stabilization or build out of renewable energy sources. The second is technology infrastructure and development. There we have a bit of a substructure. Of course, you can go and go by chain levels. So base chain, all the developers or blockchain explorers, layer 2, Lightning and others, different wallets, and of course security. The third is exchanges and trading. It's probably one of the older ones in the Bitcoin space because exchanges exist for a long time. That can be centralized exchanges, OTC desks, but also peer-to-peer DEX. A DEX is a decentralized exchange. And financial services for custody, for payments, for investment, and cashback. And the supporting Bitcoin businesses was the other smaller circle on the left. Are again 4 areas: merchant services, professional services, legal, tax, compliance, also consulting and marketing. Knowledge services are education, research, and community and advocacy, what we have here, for example, conferences, events, publications, and non-profit communities. So now it depends where you come from in terms of your background, whether any of this already kind of makes sense to you to look into or not. But that's a very personal thing, so let's see how to approach this. So what's needed as well are, of course, skills. And I made, again, 3 circles, or actually 3.5. But I'm not talking about soft skills. You all know what that is. And it's important everywhere because we work with people everywhere. So, well, the dark blue circle is your professional skills, your professional background. You may have studied and have a degree in some area. You learned some craft, some education that took you more than a few weekends to learn. And this is what you know. These are your hard skills. On the Bitcoin side, I'm distinguishing between 2 areas. The technical knowledge is everything around handling Bitcoin, wallets, understanding proof of work, maybe understanding the Lightning Network, etc., etc. We call it financial sovereignty because that's what it is at the end. If you are mastering these areas, you can handle your own Bitcoin in a self-sovereign way, which you may or may not need in a specific company, job context. But I explain in a minute why it's still important to have this basic knowledge, because you're not able to talk about implications of Bitcoin for your own business or society at large. But let's stick to the business industry you want to work in or you're currently working in. Because if you want to, and that's also a path, right? If you are very convinced of Bitcoin and feel confident enough to raise the issue inside the company where you're currently working, do that. But I tell you, it's not easy, right? And you're not starting on the technical level. You're not explaining, well, maybe a few colleagues are interested how that works with the wallets, but bringing change into your industry, you will not start with installation of wallets. It will start by being able to talk some higher up managers about the implications you see that Bitcoin may have on their business. So from seed phase to strategic phase, most people are not interested in how Bitcoin works. Also not your bosses, at least not at first. So do not start with that, but start with what Bitcoin will bring about in the future that you see and which implications it may have for the business you're in. But to be able to do this with conviction, you yourself need some of the technical knowledge. And just to give you an example, you can say, hey, Bitcoin is this trustless system. I just trust it because I can. And your boss may be saying, well, I don't. And where do you take this conviction for having trust in this system that we don't even know who made it? It's this piece of software somewhere on the web. And then you say, well, it's an immutable network, so nobody can tamper with it. And they will hear this, they understand every single word, but they still don't understand what you mean. What do you mean? It's software, it's even open source. And I heard open source, you can change it. So, and you have to go through all these steps, right? They are not immediately saying, yeah, of course it's immutable, and then of course I can trust it. No, then you have to explain proof of work. So you will end up talking about technical things because this chain or this ladder of arguments or logic usually goes back to how the system works. And it will take you much longer to explain these things than you expect. But to lure people into a conversation in the first place, you have to start with implications. Does it make sense? Yes. All right. So, and what's good about these technical skills or technical knowledge is it's also serving you personally, right? You're not wasting time learning these things to explain stuff to somebody else, but you can directly benefit from it. In case you're not already there, I'm aware we're at the Plan B conference. So, Aya, let me ask a quick ad hoc question. Who has handled a Bitcoin wallet, soft or hardware wallet, in the past with real Bitcoin? Most of the people. Cool. Very good. Very good. But only think about, you would need to explain everything you know to somebody else. Have you done that? How long would it take? Would you be comfortable doing this? So, yeah. And even if you spend hours on this and you're quite confident using a wallet by now, including custody and making sure the seed phrase is safe, etc., it may not necessarily be key knowledge you need for your job in a Bitcoin company. So explaining these implications of Bitcoin quickly. We all share the view here in this room that Bitcoin will have different implications for many different sectors of society, many different businesses, well, literally all areas. And talking about them with conviction is an important skill you should acquire in case you don't have a practice yet in that. On the right side, the circle is how we at the Institute look at this space we call Bitcoin from different angles. So I'm just going quickly. I think the words are clear for everyone who is in the space, but top right, of course, finance and economics. You would explain why Bitcoin is different to conventional economics and conventional. I mean, some of you listened to Saifedean's talk this morning. Tech and innovation, of course, you will need to explain how this thing works. Energy and climate, now it's getting interesting because while explaining the technicalities of Bitcoin may be a neutral conversation, talking about energy and climate in the context of Bitcoin is not a neutral conversation because your conversation partner in 9 out of 10 cases has an opinion already without knowing what you know. So, well, I cannot save you from that. It will take time, and you will have to work through quite a bit of misconceptions and misunderstandings and literally misinformation. Access and agency is our word for the human rights, the social aspect of Bitcoin. And that's a challenge in Switzerland, because when you say, yeah, Bitcoin is good for financial inclusion and the unbanked can get access to financial means, they look at you, they nod, and they think, what does that have to do with me or whatever we do in Switzerland, where everybody has like 3 bank accounts, 2 credit cards, and then this thing called Twint. Nobody needs it here. In that sense, it's needed in other countries in the world. Therefore, we have, as the Institute, an area called Strategy and Policy, where we talk about and think about what countries like Switzerland should be doing. And of course, the last one is markets and geopolitics. So this is just to show you how you could think about this space in a bit of a more structured way. Which of these domains are relevant to yourself because of interests and professional background, or which are interesting because of where you're currently working? You have to decide and figure out. If you want to get an impression, have a look at our website. We have intelligent briefs nearly across all of the 6 areas. But they are important to start the conversations. You're not starting and say, hey, Bitcoin is cool, let me install a mobile wallet on your phone and fiddle with your phone and send you $10 or something. This is not how it starts, usually. Not in unfortunately not in a professional context. With your friends, of course, it's different. So let's do the second Menti, and then we are already done with the Mentis, but take a moment to think about the following. Where do you think you have gaps in knowledge about Bitcoin? And I give you a structured... oh, thank you very much. Genau. So in which parts of the rabbit hole have you been or feel confident about, and which areas are not? So currently this room shows, we have only 11 who answered, so I give you a bit of time to, yeah. So, and you can see again that I split it. So the first 5 are sort of technical skills, right? How do things work with a Bitcoin network, from wallets, custody, up to L2s. And the other 6 with the asterisks are these 6 domains I just showed you in the circle, which usually contains all the interesting arguments to start conversations with people. And also, areas that make sense for you to research and learn about, right? How, in case you haven't done yet, how can Bitcoin influence the area of work I'm in, my field of work? So 35, a bit more than half of the people. I give you a bit more time because it can still change with only half of the people participated. But yeah, sure. L2s is for sure the area we know least about in the room. That makes a lot of sense. For the longest time, Lightning was the main or only player even. Maybe that could be a nice question as well. Just quick show of hands. Who has ever received or sent a Lightning transaction? Oh, okay, nearly the same amount of people. Okay, very cool. Very cool. But of course, everything else from eCash to ARC is very new. RGB is very new, or only emerged basically to the larger space. So there's the biggest. So I would say you're mostly comfortable with handling your own wallets, obviously, and doing custody. And quite related to that, you seem to be rather comfortable with explaining the financial and economic aspects of Bitcoin, which is very good. It's a very important foundation. The technical aspects, of course, it's getting up, like network, Lightning, and L2, but also on the other side, innovation and technology, very much to the right. Interestingly, you seem to be, as a group, rather comfortable on the discussing geopolitics in the context of Bitcoin, which is good and interesting and more relevant than ever. If you look into the world, what's going on currently in different corners. If you have this Bitcoin perspective and you try to, let's say, reveal the curtain and look behind and see how the monetary system is related to some of the conflicts, or what's possible in conflicts because of the current monetary system, you're already very much ahead. And these are great conversation starters, even for conversations related to jobs. Maybe not in the job interview itself, if it doesn't fit, but when you are at events where potential employers maybe. The energy topic is still very high, so that may be an area where you should think about smarting up, so to say. And the social/human rights agency aspect depends a bit on your background and where you're working and where you want to. Oh, I'm sorry, and where you want to work. So let's take a quick shot of this as well. All right. So, and the third aspect of skills is, as I said, your professional background. So, what did you learn? What degree do you have? And so, of course, some of the degrees are naturally closer, like finance and business administration, economics degrees. Well, economics itself maybe not, but financial degrees, you at least have a feeling for how things work. But if you're a microbiologist, it's not obvious, right? But that doesn't matter. First of all, nobody's learning Bitcoin in school these days, so you're not worse off than everybody else. Everybody else has also to learn it from other sources, and these sources are only building right now. We are offering courses for executives. Plan B is offering courses. And the other important aspect is, and then that again depends on your background, of course, and the field of study. which skills are transferable from your whole set of skills you acquired over your lifetime so far, are transferable. So just to give a stupid example, project management, if you have been doing project management in some company somewhere, you can do that in a Bitcoin company as well, right? It's not, you don't need to know much about Bitcoin to do project management there. And guess what? These companies also need project managers. So it's really worth thinking about or making a clear assessment of the skills you have. Maybe use the structure I showed you to go through your own personal list and figure out where you are, how your profile looks, where you are strong, where you're not so strong, and what may be needed for moving in the direction you want to move. And what you also can do, it requires some courage, but I think dealing with Bitcoin on a professional level still requires some courage. It's not the normal, typical thing. It's not that you tell your people, friends or colleagues, okay, I'm now moving to a Bitcoin company, and everybody's, oh yeah, sure, why not? That's what happens every day, doesn't, right? That's still decreasing over time, this risk. It's normalizing, if you, funny word, it's normalizing. But yeah, you will still be a bit of an exception. And as you can see in this statistic, that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. It's just the distribution of education fields in the EU. So business administration and law is the largest, 10% of people. Engineering is next, health and welfare, arts and humanities, social sciences, education, and so on. So somewhere there, if you have a degree, somewhere there you are. And it doesn't actually make a big difference whether you are in the top 3 or you're somewhere in the middle or somewhere else. Because even like the microbiologist I mentioned, they definitely learned analytic skills, right? So that's, I mean, there must be a reason why you found out about Bitcoin and you start learning it. If it's not through your current job, which is probably not the case with most people here, there was something else, this curiosity, this willingness to spend time. So these are qualities Bitcoin companies are looking for, right? Because also for them, on their side, it's not the typical job market, right? Because they cannot tap into a pool of obvious Bitcoin people because they do not exist in terms of, there is no Bitcoin degree, right? If I search for marketing, I get marketing people, candidates and profiles. If I search for Bitcoin, I can only find those who happen to put Bitcoin somewhere in their CV. And it's usually not part of their professional education, unless you made a course, sure. But there are not too many offers currently. So it's both sides, and therefore I wouldn't worry too much that you cannot actually show something from your professional degree. So what can you do? How to start moving. And being here today, who's the first time here at the conference, Plan B conference? Okay, who is the first time at a Bitcoin conference? A few, okay, very good, welcome. So how to start moving. And one of the tips at this stage in the development of this industry is, so first of all, you know that's one, right? Proof of work until a block is found is what miners have to do. And there is this meme in the Bitcoin, how to say, recruitment or career development space, proof of work until a job is found. So what does it mean? It means you find ways of showing that you know about Bitcoin, that you have a certain level of expertise, and in addition, you show the motivation for this subject. If you really want to move, right? If it's just like that, then of course it's not so important, and you can do whatever. But if you want to attract potential employers, these are the two things. You need to show that you are exposing yourself to this topic of Bitcoin, and you did for some time, and you're motivated around it. And for that, meet Stefan, who is our brief showcase of such a person who showed proof of work. So, want to tell us your story quickly?
Yes, can you hear me fine? No?
Now?
Now? How about now? Okay. Yes, so quickly, hi everyone. I quit my job about 1.5 years ago with no plan really of what I was going to do next. I just took a leap of faith. And I told everyone at UBS where I quit that I was going to study Bitcoin. And they told me I was crazy and laughed a little bit, but that was fine. So for me, the most important thing for me first was going to a Bitcoin conference. So I went to the Le Paradigme conference in Neuchâtel, and that's where I met Daniel Prince, who is the host of the Once Bitten podcast. And I shared with him a personal project I was researching about the Asante Empire in Africa and how they use gold dust for transactions. And he said, super cool, write an article about that, and then come on my podcast and we can discuss it from there. So then I started to write articles around Bitcoin and sort of the historical examples of Bitcoin. And I also focused on Africa because I grew up in Africa for about half my life. And I was very interested in Bitcoin mining in Africa. So I wrote an article about Bitcoin mining in Africa and just put it out into the internet and didn't know who was going to read it. And then after that, Marcus found the article about Bitcoin mining in Africa, and he wrote to me, and then I found this job at the Swiss Bitcoin Institute. So that's my personal story. It was from the Bitcoin conference to creating some content and writing some articles, and then people will find you based off the work that you put out there. And I also tried to build my Nostr following, which is quite a painful process because when you post on Nostr, nobody finds your content. But I think that's a good way to show some proof of work that you're engaging with a new sort of Bitcoin-focused technology. So that'd be one tip from me, is to try and build your Nostr because it shows some proof of work, from my opinion. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll be around later if you have questions.
I think we will have time for questions at the end as well to Stefan. Thank you. So yeah, that's my last slide already because there's not so much information to give. It's more to get you into a certain thinking process and way to go about it. So start doing something. Yeah, whatever it is, start doing something that over time you dare to basically show to the world. And there's a lot of things you can do. So the goal is to create a reason to add Bitcoin to your social profile if you don't have it there yet. And of course you can just put, hey, I'm a Bitcoin fan. Yeah, that's more signal than not putting it, but it's much more effective if you can show something more than your enthusiasm about the topic. So demonstrate knowledge as well somehow. So if you like to write, start to write about it. Maybe you're a better talker. Maybe start a small podcast. It sounds crazy, I know, but it's really easy to start something like this. And you don't have to get 10,000 followers, right? Just a few people need to see what you're doing. And even if you have hardly any followers and listeners, you still produce that work, right? You still created some text, some podcast episode, whatever it is, right? Or interviews with people. Like here, you could theoretically start here at the conference simply interviewing a few people on something that is of interest to you or in an area that you can that you could imagine moving towards too. And then you have a few bits and you make them available. And whenever you talk to somebody, you can say, hey, I had a small series of interviews. I wrote a text. I did this or that. And you can actually show it, which is much more than having Bitcoin logos all over on T-shirts and everywhere, because that does not, I mean, yeah, it also signals, but yeah. So that's the first operational phase of it, right? Make yourself visible. Think about if Bitcoin is not on your LinkedIn or X profile today, what good excuses do you have to put it there, right? And if there are no excuses, then create the excuses first and then put it. And Stefan was front running me no, it's fine. With my tip, try Noster. So who knows about Noster? Who has a Noster account? Okay, who knows that a Noster account is not an account? All of you, I hope. Good. So you have Noster keys. So the thing about Noster is it's this very small esoteric place, but it's fully packed with Bitcoin people. So hoping not to contradict myself too much, you can also talk about other things you are passionate about or know about on Noster while revealing you're a Bitcoin person. Because it's such a small place, people might also like your, I don't know what, videos, drawings, poems. I have no idea. I'm not doxing Stefan, but Stefan is not only talking about Bitcoin on Noster. But aside from these maybe obvious things on the operational level, there's also a strategic component I think requires a bit more time and thinking, and I hope I gave you a few ideas what to think about and maybe also a few ideas on how to approach this. So one part is skills assessment and inventory. So going through this very simple question I asked you before about these gaps in a more systematic way with a bit more time, with a more taking into account your current situation, your field of work, and then also decisions or thoughts about let's assume you're a marketing person. Do I want to do marketing in a Bitcoin company? That's one path. But I'm also very much interested in, I don't know, explaining Bitcoin to people. I did this, I orange pilled like 10 friends already. I can prove it, whatever. So maybe you're not doing marketing. You could do something else in a new company. And this is you're not even making this decision up front, but it may be an additional strategic option you have. So thinking about your skills is meant much broader than just to, okay, I studied this, I know this, and I don't know much about this, etc., etc. It's, but it depends on your personal situation. Therefore, I cannot really, in the abstract, make much out of it except saying, think about the gaps in these two levels. The fundamental level, but I think many of you are already strong in that, is basically the basics of the Bitcoin network, why it's 21 million, how does it work, how do I send, to then be able to talk about these higher up non-technical aspects. And again, why? You do that because other people who are not in the Bitcoin space do not understand and are not interested in the technical aspects. They are, if at all, interested in the stuff up here. And to be able to be convincing here, you need to do some homework, right? Read books, read other blogs, watch videos, podcasts. You know that. But yeah, it's important to understand that the conversations start in the non-technical realm in 99 of 100 cases. So in the options you have, I already started mentioning, you are here, which is a great first step. Meetups are another one. Then, of course, some more organized training or even coaching sessions could be helpful to figure out where do I want to go? What's the profile of this target role or set of roles, and where I'm today, and how do I fill the gaps? So, with that, I'm already on my second to last slide. I'd like you to scan a last QR code for today, which allows you on one side to give very, very brief feedback. It's just like 4 crosses and 2 lines of a few keywords. But there's more. The bottom section contains 4 options where you can express interests, if you have, which are related to these 3 options. So depending on where you stand, you may say, okay, on the financial sovereignty, wallets, custody, the basics, I need a few more things that maybe are related to my industry or my field of work a bit more than for others. Maybe payments because you're in an NGO. The other aspect is these, I keep coming back to this implications word. If you want to talk convincingly about Bitcoin to no coiners, you don't start with the basics, you start with problems they see if they open the newspaper or see the news on TV. And to hook in there requires some, at least exercise or practice. And it helps a lot if you know a few things about the different areas Bitcoin is showing its impact. We call that Bitcoin for executives. And there's also an option for a personal coaching. If you're interested, you can also just here on the form tick that box and we will get back to you. So with that, I'm through with the formal official part and the slide deck. We have a few minutes left for questions to me or to Stefan. So with that, thanks to you all for listening and good luck with your job search and hunt. Thank you. So do we have questions? Yeah, there, a question? Yeah, you get a microphone.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. There is one point that I think is missing, or maybe I don't understand enough, is to be able to explain Bitcoin, we should know also about shitcoin and all the rest of the DeFi and the Web3 and...
That's a great question. Thank you. That's really a great question. No. We haven't put it up yet, but we will have a separate page on the Institute's website exactly about this. Bitcoin is not crypto. It's not there yet, but it's on our to-do list. So let me think how I should put this the best. So, but my answer stands. It's a no. You don't need to know anything about the rest. Well, the rest, it's not even the rest, of the crypto space. If you know how Bitcoin works and are able to explain this, even to some of the implications in the energy space or financial inclusion, etc., you're good. Unless you want to work for a crypto something provider, right? That's a different story. I'm excluding that option at the moment. What I think would make sense is making the statement Bitcoin is not crypto usually provokes the question, what do you mean? Yeah, the other person says, because for the rest of the world, mostly it's the same thing. They look at crypto, they see all these different tokens, and they just think, oh yeah, Bitcoin is just one of it. It's the biggest, maybe it's the oldest, maybe it's the largest, maybe, but it's one of them. And being able to explain this difference requires a little bit of understanding how crypto tokens usually work. But I can tell you that can be understood in an afternoon. It's not like rocket science. And I would also think in many cases you will not need that explicit discussion in a job interview, unless, again, it's maybe a financial institution that plans to offer crypto, which of course contains Bitcoin, but also Ethereum and Cardano and 7 other tokens, or 70 other tokens. And then it's different, but I don't think that is your situation. And for that, I would try to be able to answer that question. I think that should be a goal, but you don't have to be an expert in crypto to be able to answer that question. Was that all right? Other questions? Oh, yes, please.
I mean, besides hiring young, talented Bitcoiners at the Bitcoin Institute, are you doing something more structured to make job search and job offer meet at least in Switzerland? Or
it's a great question. So the institute has, so if you go to the website, it says something like the institute offers research and executive education for decision makers in the different sectors. So that's our focus. But we also already, it's just not visible on the website, are building an offering for Bitcoiners, because these leaders, these executives we are targeting are no-coiners, or maybe privately, but not in a professional capacity. They're not Bitcoiners. So it's a different target group. But we also have a few ideas what to offer to Bitcoin people, and this career. Well, it's one of the offerings, but at the moment, aside from personal coaching, we have not more as a structured offer. We have the courses and we have the coaching. There may be more in the future, but we need to do a few things first, because not too many people, and we are like 3 months in the on the scene. But yeah, it's I mean, it's also driven by demand as well, right? If we figure out there is a demand, we will definitely offer something. But if you have concrete questions, just talk to us. Any other question? Everybody knows what to do as a next step? Okay. Then good luck with it. Thanks for your time and attention, and enjoy the conference.